I wrote all this out, all these facts and all this information, and gathered it from all these different sources, kind of so I didn't have to give a TED Talk. Because it's hard, I feel like people, especially on like Native American Heritage Month or Indigenous Peoples Day or Black History Month, ask marginalized groups who are victims of white supremacy and all of the racism and murder and tragedy that goes along with that, and kind of ask them to like educate everybody. Everything that I got is easily accessible. It's a library book. It's a PBS documentary. It's a podcast. So I'm going to tell people that I'm here to teach people how to wheat paste and do a big community kind of project. I'm here to share a little bit about my family history and kind of like explain those parts of it. But I kind of wrote all this down so that people could learn during the process and go read these facts and pick out which one speaks to them and take that and cement it on the wall and kind of cement it in their heads a little bit too, The reason why I've focused so much on like Nicholas's story, not just because like I was able to like access a lot of this information and fill in pieces that like family stories and history like couldn't quite fill, is that it was like that's like the point. His kids went through the same, struggles at a different point in time, in different places, at different schools, different like stories of escape and running away and fighting back and resilience. And but Nicholas is like the point where like the trajectory of my family's identity was forcibly shifted. And I just always find that like super fascinating, especially as like, a couple generations after, trying to like kind of reclaim the language with my kid. I work with my 3-year-old knows more Lakota than I do at this point. But I've been working with him since he was born to try to kind of see if we can kind of get some of that back together. You can see this kind of transformation over time, over the years of being removed from where he was from and all connection with his family to, being immersed in this like abusive, scary military school, where they were literally trying to kill the Indian and save the man and like commit this kind of cultural genocide through removal and reprogramming. To see if I could go home, a true history paste up. This is a true history paste up. It's my family history, a story shared by so many Native Americans. It's a story of survivors and their descendants. It's also a story of genocide, racism, murder, child abuse, cultural erasure, sexual abuse, generational trauma, and unresolved pains that may be triggering. The history of the heinous acts white supremacy enacts on its victims is not the history of the marginalized groups who were harmed by it, it's white history. And the story of Indian boarding schools in America is a dark one, ironically omitted in most US educations. The stories of resilience, defiance, and survival against insurmountable odds are indigenous history. This true history paste up is about my great-great-grandfather, Nicholas Rouleau, his classmates, and the school that brainwashed him and took his hair, culture, religion, and identity, and robbed my family of so much, though we are still here. This project seeks to heal through art, community engagement, and education. While tackling issues of immense weight, may we share and learn together in a good way with good hearts and open minds.